From certain characters not being given the focus and platform fans had been hoping for during a long-awaited appearance, to news of a once exciting incoming project potentially being shot down in pre-production. It's time to look at some of the absolute worst things to happen to the world of space wizards and rebel alliances in recent memory. Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are the 7 worst things that happened to Star Wars in 2022. Number 7. Disgusting racism hits the galaxy far, far away. The fact this entry even exists in 2022 is frankly sickening, to be honest. But what should have been a dream come to life for Moses Ingram upon making her Star Wars debut as the complex Inquisitor Reva Savanda in Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi quickly turned into a revolting nightmare for the talented star. As revealed by Ingram herself, the American actor had been subjected to hundreds of racist messages and comments from fans on Instagram in the wake of her appearance as the former Jedi youngling in the series. Her co-star Ewan McGregor and the franchise's own Twitter account were quick to support Ingram online, with the former noting that if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fan in my mind. But sadly, this isn't the first time a Star Wars thespian has found themselves on the receiving end of waves of racism during their time as part of the galaxy far, far away, with both John Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran going on record to reveal the racist hate sent their way when occupying the roles of Finn and Rose in the Skywalker saga. In short, the Star Wars Twitter account likely put it best: there are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy, don't choose to be a racist. Number 6. More and more de-aging. Disney and Lucasfilm most definitely have a new favourite toy, don't they? The moment it was revealed that the House of Mouse had found a way to digitally bring Peter Cushing's Grand Moff Tarkin back to life, and turn back the clock when it came to a certain iconic princess in 2016's Rogue One, fans knew it would only be a matter of time before the franchise doubled down on all things digital de-aging. And sure enough, 2019 saw both Luke and Leia thrown into a time machine during a flashback sequence in Rise of Skywalker, and the former was eventually digitally realised once again for an emotional cameo in The Mandalorian soon after. 2022 definitely saw the biggest leap yet when it comes to said tech being used for more than the odd shot though, with a de-aged Mark Hamill brought to life by Graham Hamilton on set, being found training young Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett, and both Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen taking part in some subtly de-aged lightsaber practice as prequel-era Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker during the former's Disney Plus spin-off. But the tech is still proving to be somewhat divisive, however, with many wondering why Disney didn't simply opt for the far cheaper and less potentially jarring move of recasting Luke in particular for his subsequent appearances in the small screen corner of the galaxy. Disney appeared to be reluctant to attempt another recasting experiment in the wake of Alden Ehrenreich's younger iteration of Han Solo though, and with next year also bringing a spookily effective younger Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny, expect the studio to continue laughing in the face of Father Time via deepfake for some time yet. Number 5. Boba Fett was completely overshadowed in his long-awaited series. Sticking with the first live-action Star Wars project 2022 boasted on Disney+, said Luke Skywalker deepfake appearance actually forms part of the major issue many had with the series once the dust had settled on Boba Fett's supposed solo spin-off. Far from being a focused story centered around the scenario the iconic figure found himself in after taking control of Jabba the Hutt's criminal empire on Tatooine, or a deep dive into his compelling history as a bounty hunter away from the Skywalker saga, the Book of Boba Fett spends a lot of its time either changing the way you view Tusken Raiders via flashbacks, or trying to infuse the Mandalorian tales into Boba's story. And while seeing the likes of Din Djarin, Grogu, Ahsoka, and the aforementioned Skywalker again definitely set the stage for some of the series' undisputed highlights, it also largely left the titular leading character feeling rather overshadowed and even dull by comparison. There's a reason very few have been in a rush to call for another season of Boba-led action. The show ultimately felt like little more than a setup for the upcoming 3rd season of The Mandalorian, and will likely be viewed as a bit of a letdown in hindsight by those who'd been clamoring for a Fett spin-off project for an age. Number 4. An underwhelming use of Darth Vader in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Keeping with the theme of character returns that unfortunately failed to deliver in the end, alongside Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi making a triumphant return to the Star Wars stage, Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader was also back along for the post-prequels ride. Yet with much of the attention heading into Disney Plus's Kenobi spin-off understandably being on the live-action return of the biggest bad in the galaxy, expectations were rather high. Outside of a deliciously merciless wander through a village during Part 3 though, Vader felt mostly wasted wasted throughout the show, and a bit underdeveloped in comparison to his former master, despite being presented as arguably the second build character coming in. Some of his decisions during the spin-off were also quite baffling, it's gotta be said, with the apparently ruthless Dark Lord of the Sith simply refusing to definitively kill off Reva and Kenobi whenever he had the chance to at various points in the tale. Admittedly, Obi-Wan and a broken Mass Vader's final exchange post-anticlimactic rematch of the century did provide a brief glimmer of brilliance in the form of a heartbreaking final nail in Anakin's coffin. But for the most part, Vader felt like little more than a two-dimensional force during his obsessive attempts to hunt down his former master. And away from the odd emotionally charged exchange with Kenobi, he was largely made to look like a needless shiny accessory being used to shamelessly stir up more interest in a project that ultimately struggled to justify its own existence. Number 3, the volume doesn't deliver the goods. Another piece of technology that has taken the galaxy far, far away by storm, and rest of the movie TV making sphere for that matter, first made its presence known in Season 1 of Disney Plus's The Mandalorian series. And since changing the game somewhat during Mando's initial outing on the small screen, the 360-degree LED wall soundstage known as the Volume has routinely been used as the backdrop for just about every Star Wars project pumped onto the streaming service. While this seemed to work an absolute treat early on in said Mandalorian tales though, the same cannot be said for the more recent attempts at replacing physical sets with a digital surrounding. In the case of both the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi, this reliance on the digital gave the all-round project a slightly soulless, hollow, and even smaller feeling in the end. Whereas a return to more physical sets and filmmaking while shooting on the critically acclaimed hit that was Andor definitely went down better with fans of the franchise. That world felt authentic and lived in, with just about everything on screen being fully functioning and crafted with a level of depth and attention that often feels missing during those other volume entries. The Volume is undoubtedly a groundbreaking piece of tech, but 2022 proved that it's still pretty difficult to top the real deal. Number 2, a number of cinematic cancellations and setbacks. Though it's safe to say that there hasn't been any shortage of Star Wars content on the small screen over the last 12 months, the same cannot be said for the galaxy far, far away on the cinematic stage. Since Rise of Skywalker stumbled into theaters in late 2019, Star Wars has still not returned to the place where it most definitely belongs, on the biggest of screens in theaters all over the world. That's not to say that Disney and Lucasfilm aren't planning on making that long-awaited theatrical comeback though, with more than a few potential features seemingly in pre-production stages at this current moment in time. However, with Rian Johnson's reported new trilogy still being some way off thanks to the success of his Knives Out series, and Taika Waititi's untitled Star Wars project not having a story fully figured out right about now, Star Wars' future at the movies still feels far from certain coming out of 2022. There was hope to be found in the reveals of Damon Lindelof and Sean Levy both being in the process of creating a new big screen chapter in the Star Wars story. But news of Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron being all but confirmed as cancelled in the wake of it being pulled from Disney's release schedule likely came as a frustrating update for those who were clamoring to see the Wonder Woman director fire up her own Star Wars property. Another rather disappointing revelation to tumble out of 2022 came in the form of it being announced that the next scheduled Star Wars movie outing would likely only hit theaters in December 2025. Things can always change in this balmy industry, but as of this moment, fans angling to see the return of the Force in cinemas will likely be left waiting for some time yet. Number 1, Cad Bane's lackluster live-action debut. Easily ranking as one of the most badass entities ever to grace the animated Star Wars world, the sight of the blue ball of bounty hunting brilliance that was Cad Bane rocking up on the live-action scene in 2022 could have made for one of the greatest moments in recent Star Wars history. Yet, on the back of an appropriately chilling introduction for the scenery-chewing legend late in the series, the quick-drawing menace soon found himself being dealt a pretty crappy hand by the time the Book of Boba Fett came to its disappointing conclusion. Now sure, Bane being stabbed in the chest by longtime rival Boba Fett in the closing stages of the series finale may not guarantee his definitive end. Many other characters in the galaxy far, far away have come back from worse after all. But if this was both the first and final time the wisecracking cowboy of the galaxy made his presence known in live-action form, then not fully diving into Bane's history with Fett over the years, or having Cad act as an unsettling presence throughout the series feels like a serious missed opportunity. Hopefully his still blinking bodysuit hints at more to come from the growling bounty hunter after an all-too-brief Book of Boba showing. However, if this is the end, then what a lackluster way of bidding farewell to one of the coolest figures the Clone Wars had to offer. And that's our list of any other terrible things that happened to Star Wars in 2022. Then let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. As always, may the Force be with you, but in the meantime, hey, be good to yourself. Bye bye.